What's up guys? Today I'm going to be showing you how to draw Shadow the Hedgehog. All you need is a piece of paper and a pencil. Let's go! The pose we're going to be referencing today is this one from Sonic 06. I usually like to use 3D models for reference as opposed to 2D artwork, but it all really comes down to personal preference on which look you prefer. There's this really great reference sheet of pretty much every angle of Shadow's head that you could possibly think of. I'm not sure who made it originally, but whoever did, thank you, because I use it all the time. Now that we have our references, grab your paper and pencil and let's start drawing. So when I draw Sonic characters, I always like to start by marking where their head is going to be, just by drawing a very loose circle. Draw a line to mark where the center of the head is facing, and this line shows me where the top of the muzzle is. I'm going to also sketch in where his body goes as well. He's kind of like leaning back a little bit, and I'm going to mark like where his legs are going to connect to his body. His shoulder in the front is right about there. His arm comes in kind of a arc this way. Also going to just put a circle right about where his hand is going to go. His other hand is going to be right about here. So we are using the 06 model as reference here, but I personally really like the current Shadow model being used in the games. So I'm making this drawing a little closer to that than the actual 06 model. Something that's kind of crazy to me is just how many good Shadow models there are out there. Like, I have criticisms for almost every Sonic model I come across, but very rarely do I have the same amount of criticism for Shadow models. For example, there's a lot of things that I would change about Movie Sonic, but Movie Shadow is pretty close to perfect in my opinion. And to be fair, they did build out the Movie Shadow model after they'd already had experience with doing Sonic for 2 whole movies. So naturally, they'd have a little bit more insight on what works and what doesn't. But to me, it just kind of seems like there's something about Shadow that just looks great no matter what you do with him. So I'm cleaning up some of my sketchier lines and adding some more details. Here with his fingers, they are much more swollen than like normal fingers, for lack of a better term. Some artists stylize them and draw them as more realistic hands with pronounced joints and knuckles, and I think that looks really, really cool. So now I'm going to start on the face. I usually start at the bridge of the muzzle and then work my way outward as opposed to starting at the outside and drawing inward. When I'm drawing these characters, I really like to imagine that the muzzle is like a 3D sculpted piece of clay that's kind of like stuck on the front of their face. So it doesn't follow the arc of the head exactly. It's kind of sticking out just a little bit. So his eye is a little bit round, like it's the same kind of shape connecting with his muzzle on this side as like Sonic's eye. The only difference is instead of arching it up and down like Sonic's, you kind of come at an angle from the side and go right across and kind of angle it straight down. That's like the only difference between Shadow's eye and Sonic's eyes. Clearly Shadow's is just pointy, but to me, this arc, I usually draw it the same as I would draw this arc for Sonic's eye. I just arc the top over a little bit differently to make it pointy. And again, I don't usually think of like their eyebrows as sticking to this circle that we've originally drawn. It's more of like a 3D shape, so you want to bring it out from that original circle just a little bit. His ear, think of a straight line just going straight up from his eye. That's where his ear is going to be. And it's hard to see most of his other ear because he's kind of tilting his head, so it's just kind of peeking up a little bit there. And now the quills. Think of this arc as kind of like a spiral that is going around and around, and it's just going to kind of fling off the edge there. That's his top quill. Now his middle quill, the top of it starts right behind his ear. The top arc of it is a little bit different. It's not as curved as the bottom arc. Bottom arc is going to come right in like that. Then the bottom quill is going to drop down a little bit like this. and connect to the back of his head right about there. His top quill is going to end right here. I'm going to bring this down just a little bit. In the 06 render, you can kind of see his middle quill is sticking out, as well as the quill from the other side of his head is kind of sticking out as well. So I'm going to add the middle quill coming in right here, just barely peeking through. Last but not least, we'll draw his eye and his mouth. So I'm going to start curving it like he's smiling, but then to make him snarling, I'm going to bring it up and turn it the other way. So I'm going to do a smiling curve over the top, and I'm going to do a frowning curve, and that makes it a scowl, like that. Clean it up a little bit, erase some of the extra sketch marks. We'll add his chest floof, just adding some of these smaller details in. And maybe if we want to make him look a little angrier, we can kind of bring his eye down a little bit. And his stripe is just going to follow that same center line that we had drawn for his head in the very beginning. As it does come up over the top quill, it does kind of get hidden from view, so I'm going to just let it fade out right there and right behind his ear. It is kind of hard to see the stripes on his quills from this angle. Just going to mark in where those would be. And there he is. So that is how I draw Shadow the Hedgehog. Now if you want to see how I take a sketch like this and turn it into a full color, fully rendered piece of digital artwork in Procreate, let me know in the comments and I will definitely make a tutorial on that as well. Don't forget to subscribe and follow me on Instagram and Twitter. In the meantime, take care. Bye!